Vijay Rachakonda is a recent college graduate from UNC Chapel Hill with a major in computer science. His musical journey started at the age of 4 with Carnatic vocal music. He started training under Srimati Mallika Agirla in Charlotte, and when he was about 11, he started tutelage under Srimati Charumati Ramachandran of the GNB MLV Bani. He has performed several Carnatic vocal concerts in North Carolina, and he has participated in the Sustaining Sampradaya program for the 2010 and 2015 Cleveland Tyagaraja festivals. Recently, he has started learning Hindustani music, Khayal styles, from Srimati Meena Fatarpekar of the Kirana Gharana school. He hopes to bring his knowledge in Carnatic music to Hindustani music and one day blend the styles in a unique way. Along with his Indian classical vocal music journey, Vijay enjoys playing guitar and learning jazz as well as other forms of Western music.
Thank you so much for joining us for this and for performing as part of the 2020 online Mahotsavam. Can you tell us about your artistic journey?
Sure. Well, I guess I started when I was about 4 or 5. I started learning Carnatic music from a local teacher, and I did it semi-seriously up until the age of 10, where I started, or maybe 11. I started learning from a teacher in India, Srimati Charamati Ramachandran, and I learned from her for about 6 or 7 years. And I was doing performances during that time. Um, and recently, about a year and a half, two, I've taken up Hindustani music, um, and I'm learning from Meena Fatarpekar. She lives in Pune, and she's part of the Kirana Gharana. Um, yeah, so that's my Indian classical vocal music journey. Um, my other artistic journey started at around 16. I started playing the guitar, and I was really into um, classic rock and sort of that genre. And as I went to college, I started playing more jazz guitar. Um, so I'd say now I'm doing mostly jazz guitar and jazz bass. And yeah, so that's sort of the parallel guitar journey and the Indian vocal classical journey.
Do you find any intersections between the two that, just through your practice or um, exploring the two genres, or the different genres rather?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say technically not really, because Western music in general is more based off of harmony, and um, Indian classical music is more based off of melody. But I would say, having a background in Carnatic music coming into learning guitar, I would say I picked it up quite quickly, because I learned by ear um, with Carnatic music. That's how we learn, and same with Hindustani music. We learn by ear, so that sort of skill of listening to what someone else is playing and then reproducing it is a skill that I found invaluable, and I could transfer from Indian music to guitar. And I think there is a lot of there is a lot of scope for intersection in those two genres. I experimented with playing Indian melodies, Carnatic melodies, with the flourishes and the gamakams and all of that on the guitar, and that is quite interesting. There is nice sounds, and um, yeah, so there is scope for exploration. I haven't explored it to its fullest extent, but for me, the intersection was more taking how I learned music in my training in Indian music, and then transferring that to guitar and jazz and rock. Yeah.
How about where in improvisation and things like that come in?
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, I think it's just like that. So when I learned improvisation in Carnatic music, um, it originally started off with me like hearing what my teacher was doing, and even in Hindustani music now, I listen to what my teacher is doing, and for some time I'm just like, it's just like monkey see monkey do. I am just like repeating whatever she is singing, and after some time, you practice so many phrases, you sort of, you can put phrases together in your own unique way, so you kind of steal, you do some creative theft, and then you put it you put it all together, and then you call it yours. And that's how I learned improvisation in the Indian tradition. And quite frankly, I think it's the same thing, especially um, when it comes to jazz music. That's exactly the way I learned it there. I just listen to whoever I want to sound like, or whoever I enjoy, and I reproduce what they play. And then I find another person's recording of that same song, reproduce what they play, put it together. So I say the improvisation process is very, very similar um, between those two genres. Yeah.
Um, why did you choose to continue pursuing music, beyond high school and continuing that? Um,
So I would say that for a lot of my young life, if I'm being completely honest with you, I think it was just like it was a cultural thing, like it was, some of it was my own passion for sure, but a lot of it was, you know, it's a cultural thing. It's how we keep our culture going, and even for me now, it is a cultural thing for sure. But then I felt like more, it was like my mom and dad were asking me to practice music. They were on my case, and so I was just kind of going along with it until college. And I didn't really get a strong drive to do it until college, where I found, particularly with Hindustani music, my own. I just enjoyed it, like it spoke to me, and I couldn't not take it up. It's I recognized the art form's beauty. And and it's funny enough. I mean, if it wasn't for my parents, maybe not forcing me, but asking me to do music when I was growing up, I wouldn't have a foundation to learn Hindustani music or learn more Carnatic music after high school. But yeah, I mean, I would say after some time, like it's an individual thing. You either take to it or you don't. And I just so happened to take to it. I just found that I started to enjoy the music a lot, and yeah, I just went for it.
um, what advice do you have for students of Indian performing arts who are, middle school, high school, they're going to, music class, and they're, watching this? What would you have for them?
I would say try to find what you enjoy about the music. Um, it can be really, again, I'll be honest with you. Some performances that I did in high school and middle school and all of that it felt like just another extracurricular activity that I was doing to go to college and stay relevant in that way. But I would say, like, put all of that aside. When you go to a concert, see if you can just try to connect with the music. See if there are things about the art form that you like, and try to inquire about that more. Um, it should be a natural thing. It shouldn't. I would say another thing is that when it comes to practice, try not to make it like a I'm either not going to practice or I'm going to practice like 6 hours. I was in that trap for a very long time in middle school and high school. And again, I would just say try to find what you enjoy about the music and practice what you can, and ask your teacher if you can learn something that you like, and yeah, just try to relax and enjoy it. That's all I would say. Yeah.
Tell us about the pieces you have planned for your ICAPS performance.
Could you repeat that?
Tell us about the pieces you have planned for the ICAPS performance.
Sure. Um, so the first piece is a so both the pieces are Hindustani pieces, and in the form of khayal. So it's these mainly the improvisational aspect of Hindustani music. That's the first piece I'd say. Um, it's it's a what they call a vilambit or madhya khayal. So it's not a particularly fast piece. It's more slow to mid tempo, and it's in the rag bimplasi, um, and yeah, so it's mostly just me singing a stanza or two, and improvising on the same stanza, in various different ways. That's the first piece, and the second piece is a bhajan, um, in Rag Desh, and yeah, it's just pretty straightforward, just a bhajan. Rag Desh is one of my favorite rags, and yeah, so the first one is a Bandish, Vilambit Kayal, Madhya Kayal, and then the second one is a bhajan in Rag Desh.
How did you decide on the pieces? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no. The first piece I learned from my current Hindustani music teacher. I've been practicing Rag Bimplasi for a couple of months now, and I can't say that I'm really very strong on it yet, but I would say I picked that one because Bimplasi is obviously a very beautiful rag, and their Bimplasi translates to I don't remember what ragam it is in Carnatic music. I think it's Karnataka Devagandhari, and I know that ragam in Carnatic music. So I guess like I enjoy the rag, and then also it was really nice for me to strengthen. Practicing for a performance usually strengthens your command over the rag, and it forces you to practice and understand what you're singing more. So I think that's why I picked the first one. And then the second one, so the bandish is called, or the bhajan is called Jini Re Jini, and it's a famous bhajan that Anup Jalota sings, and I just really really love that bhajan. I've been listening to it for a couple of months now, and my music teacher didn't teach me that one, but I've just listened to it so much that I I thought it would be a good time for me to actually learn it. And in learning it, my appreciation for the original rendition increased like tenfold. You know, so yeah, those are the primary reasons.
How do you work through when you're learning a Hindustani rag and it has, you are familiar with the Carnatic equivalent? How do you kind of work through that to make sure you're true to each form and not necessarily, mixing and mashing in a way that is one or the other?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's a question that I'm actively answering, honestly, because I feel like sometimes my background in Carnatic music, um, in some sense, handicaps me from exploring all of the Hindustani nuances. And it certainly did, when I first started learning Hindustani music, my music teacher told me, she was just like, "You sang this exactly like a Carnatic rendition," and I was like, "Oh man." And I guess now I've gotten slightly better at keeping those two separate. Now I would say when I'm learning a Hindustani rag, I just try to listen to um, my teacher how she sings it. I try to repeat as best as I can from what she's saying, and I also listen to other great artists who have sang the same rag, and I try to construct a framework of our mental framework of how that rag works, and I try to imitate the Hindustani sort of nuances, the glides, and all of that. And inevitably, because I have background in Carnatic music, it just slips in, unconsciously. And it's nice now because as opposed to it being the foundation in which I learn Hindustani music, it's more becoming just another nuance that I add on top of now more of a Hindustani foundation. I don't know if that makes sense.
You're starting to think in Hindustani framework as opposed to translating everything from the Carnatic framework.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, do you have any other projects or things that you're working on right now that you'd like to share?
Um, I don't have any projects per se. I'm doing my best to practice, keep on practicing music. I've been out of touch with Carnatic music for some time, and I think maybe at some point later this year or whenever I would like to dive back into it. Yeah, but other than that, I'm just practicing Hindustani music, practice my guitar when I can. I like songwriting, so I do that whenever I get a chance. And yeah, that's all I'm doing musically. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to when your performance will be up next Saturday at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.